Hi, my name is Eileen Seah from the University of Sydney, and I am one of the co-authors of the poster entitled Examining the Mediating Role of Self-Concept Clarity in the Relationship Between Multidimensional Perfectionism and Self-Esteem. The other co-authors are Dr. Kathryn Fletcher from the University of New South Wales, Dr. Alice Lowe, and Professor Maree Abbott from the University of Sydney. Multidimensional perfectionism is a transdiagnostic construct with pervasive implications not only for psychological adjustment but mental health. There is a general consensus that there are two higher order dimensions of multidimensional perfectionism, and they include perfectionistic strivings and perfectionistic concerns. Perfectionistic strivings is a self-oriented striving in setting of unrelentingly high personal standards, as well as the pursuit of perfection or flawlessness. This is your stereotypical view that the layperson would have of a perfectionist. Perfectionistic concerns, it includes the perceived discrepancy between the standards an individual sets and their performance, being overly self-critical, the perceived pressure from others to be perfect, as well as evaluative concerns about performance, fear of mistakes and failure, and doubts about one's own actions. In the perfectionism literature, despite self-constructs such as self-esteem, which is an aspect of self-content, being well studied, the role of self-structure, specifically self-concept clarity, remains largely unexplored in perfectionism. So what is self-structure? It refers to the organization of self-knowledge and the way information about the self is structured, which then determines how and what types of self-related information are accessed at any given time. Self-concept clarity is an aspect of self-structure, and it refers to the degree to which self-knowledge is clearly defined, stable, and internally consistent. The overall aim of our study was to elucidate the associations between multidimensional perfectionism, self-concept clarity, and self-esteem. The specific aims included, firstly, examining the correlational relationships between the variables. Secondly, we wanted to investigate whether perfectionistic strivings, perfectionistic concerns, and self-concept clarity predicted self-esteem, and also wanted to assess how much of the variance in self-esteem could be explained by these variables. And thirdly, we also wanted to examine self-concept clarity as a mediator of multidimensional perfectionism and self-esteem. What was the method of this study? The study participants included university students and community participants recruited through advertisements and social media. The sample size was 240 respondents, where 82.9% were female, and the mean age was 21.28 years, with a standard deviation of 6.05. Participants completed an online survey of self-report measures that included the short almost perfect scale that measured perfectionistic strivings and perfectionistic concerns, the self-concept clarity scale, and the Rosenberg self-esteem scale. So what did our study find? Results revealed that there were mixed patterns of correlations between perfectionistic strivings and perfectionistic concerns with self-concept clarity and self-esteem. That is to say, perfectionistic concerns was found to be associated with poorer self-concept clarity and self-esteem, whereas perfectionistic strivings was not at all correlated with either self-concept clarity or self-esteem. Secondly, a linear regression analysis indicated that perfectionistic strivings, perfectionistic concerns, and self-concept clarity were all significant and unique predictors of self-esteem. Specifically, perfectionistic strivings and self-concept clarity positively predicted self-esteem, while perfectionistic concerns negatively predicted self-esteem. Notably, self-concept clarity accounted for a larger proportion of the variance in self-esteem compared to either perfectionism dimensions. And lastly, mediation analyses demonstrated that self-concept clarity mediated the relationship between perfectionistic concerns and self-esteem, but did not mediate the relationship between perfectionistic strivings and self-esteem. This indicated that higher perfectionistic concerns was associated with poorer self-concept clarity, and in turn, lower self-concept clarity predicted lower self-esteem. So what are the conclusions and clinical implications of the study? Our study found preliminary evidence of the relationships between multidimensional perfectionism, self-concept clarity, and self-esteem. This underscores the potential importance of integrating self-structure, such as self-concept clarity, into existing theoretical, research, and treatment models of perfectionism. Results reveal that self-concept clarity may hold a more central role in explaining variability in self-esteem than multidimensional perfectionism, which to our knowledge is a novel finding that hasn't been reported in the existing literature. Self-concept clarity could also potentially serve as a protective factor against the negative impact of perfectionistic concerns on self-esteem. Additionally, to our knowledge, this study is the first to identify the mediating role of self-concept clarity in the relationship between perfectionistic concerns and self-esteem. That is to say, findings indicate that individuals who have greater levels of perfectionistic concerns tend to have a poorly defined self-concept, which may increase their susceptibility to low self-worth. However, further research is warranted to replicate study findings and explore whether clinical interventions that facilitate structural self-change by enhancing self-concept clarity can improve the self-esteem of individuals with high perfectionistic concerns. Current interventions that treat perfectionism and low self-esteem could integrate techniques that facilitate structural self-change to improve the self-esteem of individuals with high levels of perfectionistic concerns. Techniques may be drawn from modalities that currently utilize parts work or a multiple selves approach, such as schema therapy, emotion-focused therapy, compassion-focused therapy, chair work, and acceptance and commitment therapy, amongst others. Thank you so much for your time and your interest in our study. If you have any comments, feedback, or questions, please feel free to email me at my email address listed on the slide or scan the QR code. Thank you once again.